What's up, guys? This is the Gentello Project. I wanted to make a video today to start a rational discussion about some of the balancing changes that Jagex made today, but also some of the ones that I think should be made or how some of the balances should be changed. I don't want to call all of them undeserved. I think, obviously, I have the Zulrah drop table up right now, and clearly that needed reworking, but some of the things that happened today just kind of make me a little bit mad because I feel like the mods didn't think everything through. So let's just think about what they want to do here. They want to address some of the balancing issues that are in the game that have been going on that maybe they didn't think would pass a poll, or they think for the integrity of the game, for the longevity of the game, they think need to be addressed. But did they really do that for everything? Let's take a look. So one of the really big things right now that a lot of people are complaining about, in direct response to this, is the Zulrah drop table. More specifically, the noted shark drops has now been replaced by cooked manta rays. So if we look right here, cooked manta rays now a drop of 35 instead of 100 raw sharks. So this is obviously in response to the fact that many people were complaining about the fact that fishing sharks is actually slower than getting them from Zulrah. So fishing sharks is now, I don't mean quote unquote, I'm not entirely sure if this is still the same. You might actually be able to get them from Bergderot faster if I had to guess, but fishing sharks is actually, the quote unquote best way to get sharks in the game now, but it's still terrible. So I guess I kind of scratch my head at the idea that they would quote unquote fix this, but not actually address the fact that getting sharks is now terrible. Why was that not fixed today as well? If that's something that they're going to pull but not pull this, I don't know. I just don't understand why they would fix this without fixing the other. And I guess the reason this really kind of ticks me off is I'm going to put a tweet up now from Mod Ash, and this is something that was posted on Reddit the other day, which kind of made me chuckle, but also made me a little bit mad because this is someone asking for packs of gold ore to be added into the shop. Obviously a ridiculous request, but basically Mod Ash says, get a pickaxe, saying, that's how you should be getting gold ore. But this kind of doesn't sit well with me considering what they are doing with Zulrah, and now he's implying that they want gold ore to be gotten into the game through mining. But do they really? Because let's look at something else here. So now we've got gargoyles, and we've got the gargoyle drop table. I don't know about you guys. If I need to get gold ore, there's only a few things I'm going to be doing. I'm either going to be buying it or I'm going to be going to gargoyles. I am not going to be wasting my time at Motherlode Mine. I'm certainly not going to be mining it the regular way. It's just a big pain in the ass to get gold ore, especially if, well, I guess this specifically refers to Iron Men. But if you're not buying it and you're not getting it from the drop table, you're not sitting at Motherlode Mine to get gold ore, unless you're specifically at Motherlode Mine for mining experience. The fact of the matter is, the mods are saying that they want the skills to be the best way to get these resources, but it's still not that way for a lot of the skills. And instead of just outright nerfing the drop tables, why don't we actually fix some of the skills so that it actually is a viable method to get these resources? I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I feel like if the mods want to start nerfing drop tables, they need to be able to instantly put in these new methods at the same time so that we're not like having a lull where it's kind of hard to get resources in between here. Two more controversial updates today are the Serpentine Helm nerf and the Void Knight range set nerf. We're going to start off with the Serpentine Helm and why I think this new update is kind of dumb. So they kind of talk about in the range, the Void Knight range set, how they don't want these like free, quote unquote, like easy to get sort of things to be better than this high tier content like Armadillo. I don't know if you knew in the past, but in most places the Void Knight range set was actually much better than the Armadillo set. This should change in a lot of places after today's update, but the fact of the matter is they're saying that they don't want something that's free, minus the time investment, to be better than a very expensive high tier content set. But then they nerfed the Serpentine Helm so that, except at Zulrah and, I don't know, Zamorak boss, the Serpentine Helm is now worse than the Nezi Helm. And I know that in today's question and answers section, they said that this was not because Mod Wolf wanted to introduce a new Nezi Helm. It's not because they want the Nezi Helm to be better, but that's a load of shit. Even if that's not what they want, that's effectively what they've done. So they've now made a, what is it, tier 55 quest reward that costs 40k better than a 2 million GP helm that comes with a 75 defense requirement and is dropped by, I guess, the hardest boss in the game. I know Zulrah is not exactly hard once you get used to it, but unless you're counting or including raids, it is technically the hardest boss in the game. So shouldn't the Serpentine Helm be better than the Nate is not Helm in, I don't know, most scenarios? I can only think of 2 right now where you'd ever want to use the Serpentine Helm now. The fact of the matter is, you should still be able to apply Venom to people. I think what they should have done is pretty much just taken away all of the stats of the Serpentine Helm and just kept the Venom. This would be, I think, in my own personal opinion, I think this would be a better way to do it, because if you want defensive stats, then you'd get a Barrels Helm. If you wanted offensive stats, then you would directly go to the Nezi Helm. If you wanted to apply Venom, use Serpentine Helm. And if you're on task for certain things, you would use Slayer Helm. I don't know how other people feel about that, but in my own personal opinion, I think that would be the most balanced way to do this. Going on to the Void Knight range set. I don't know why. I should just say the Void set, but I guess I'm just reading the words on the screen, so it's coming out a little awkward. But the Void set. Why are they nerfing this and then not buffing the Magic set or buffing the Melee set? I know this is kind of nitpicking because it's not entirely related issues, but the fact of the matter is, yes, Void range was overpowered. I don't know if, or I don't want to comment specifically on whether or not this was a good 20% to 10% nerf. I just want to say, the Void mage set is useless right now. There is no reason to use it. If you are curious as to why it is useless, all the Void mage set adds I think a 10% or accuracy, and it's pretty much useless because most of your accuracy from range comes from your armor. So I think I'm sorry. Okay, here's the main issue. Most of your accuracy in ranged and in melee comes from your weapon. You do not get the same levels of accuracy from magic weapons, so you need magic armor to give most of your accuracy for magic. In light of this, Mystic set is better in most scenarios than Void Magic. This might be what the J-mods want, in which case there's no purpose for Void Magic set to be in the game, so they either, take it out, make it easier to get, because 10 hours for the Magic set is stupid, or buff it somehow, either give it more accuracy, and I mean, it'd have to be a pretty ridiculous amount of accuracy, I understand that, or just give it such a damage buff that even if you're doing less, even if you're hitting less, the amount that you're hitting each time would be more. So, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but pretty much the Magic Void set is useless. If they're going to be nerfing the range set, I don't understand why they didn't also buff the Magic set at the same time. Okay, so another thing that makes me mad, I guess just basically, again, in relationship to our whole Void nerf, is that they're saying they don't want, basically they don't want lower tier content to be better than higher tier content. They don't want the Void, which is, quote unquote free, easy to get, easy, tedious really, to get, to be better than Armadil, which comes from a high tier boss, has a better, or has higher requirements to wield, more expensive, more investment. They don't want that to happen. But okay, let's look at the fighter torso and the Bando's chestplate. So I know someone's gonna be a smartass and be like, oh, well, if you actually look at the Bando's chestplate, it has better stats, blah, 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 it's got better defenses, and it's got a 1 prayer bonus, okay, most of the time when you're going with armor, the armor stats don't matter in a lot of places, especially for like Slayer and stuff like that. The vast majority of like content you'll be doing, technically you do need defenses for something, but most of the time, like, we want to look at strength bonus when we're doing melee. Like, that's the most important thing. I mean, we have overhead prayers in OS, which basically means like we can negate all damage for a lot of things, so we want to just look at strength bonus, and they both have the same strength bonus. The fighter torso's level fucking 40 defense, and it's a reward from a fucking mini game. The Bando's chestplate is a level 65 defense and a reward from a God Wars dungeon boss. It's literally the same thing if we're looking at it from like the fucking Armadillo and the Void thing, right? Now, technically, Void was better than Armadillo, but let's just look. It's a level 40-ish reward from a mini game, and it's armor that is rewarded through God Wars Dungeon. Shouldn't God Wars Dungeon be much better? Is that what Jagex is saying? So either Bando's chestplates needs a higher strength bonus, or the fighter torso needs a lower strength bonus. You know, like, I just don't get how Jagex is doing these things and not being consistent. That's what I'm looking for, consistency. If Void Range should be much worse than Armadillo, or at the very least shouldn't be as good as Armadillo, then the fighter torso should not be as good as the Bando's chestplate for their main purpose, which is strength bonus. Either the fighter torso needs a lower strength bonus, or the Bando's chestplate needs a higher strength bonus in order to be consistent with what they're saying. I don't have as much to say about the specifics of the PvP updates. The only thing I want to say is, I know a lot of people are upset about the fact that this update goes against what was polled and the results of that poll, but it's kind of like splashing, where it's like, yeah, the poll didn't pass, but is it good for game health? Maybe it should still be in the game. I know that's a controversial opinion, because it's like, why poll it in the first place then? I guess it goes back to, should certain things be polled? Should balancing issues be polled? Part of that problem is we're also then kind of just trusting Jagex, and I think if we're having this whole update about having to rebalance like extremely overpowered things, or things that shouldn't have been in the game in the first place, it kind of shows that Jagex either doesn't have quality assurance or doesn't know what the fuck they're doing most of the time. So now we're trusting them to get it right the second time, so I don't know, we'll see. But what I wanted to talk about now is the Karamja General Store. I think it's good that this is no longer in the game, but it's a larger issue it mirrors a larger issue that I want to talk about, that I think actually is reflected in all of these other updates, and it's Jagex's style of release. I call it get it while it's hot gameplay. And basically, what do I mean by this? Do updates on release date is essentially what Jagex is saying. Do updates when we release them and they're extremely overpowered, because we're going to nerf them in the future, and if you don't get to them before then, you're fucked, and you've totally missed out on either free experience, free gold. You're really missing out on a lot of overpowered stuff that you would get if you had just shown up on the first day. So Karamja General Store, in the past, easy way, well, I guess not easy because you have to do the Karamja hard diary, but I mean, before then, I think it was unlocked with the easy diary. So at some point in time, super easy for you to just go and make a ton of money off of it. Now you can't do that. Anyone that plays in the future that did not take advantage of this, fuck you, eat my asshole, you're fucked. You don't get this free easy money. Let me switch images here. Go back to Zulrah. Anyone that has an Iron Man, wants to train cooking, fuck you, you're an idiot. You should have played, you should have gotten shark drops before then. Anyone that wants to train construction now has to spend money, because you don't get mahogany planks anymore, you get mahogany logs. I think I guess also this would affect some mining and smithing, and just a little bit because of the coal and adamant and rune drops. Essentially, if you weren't doing Zulrah before, you're an idiot. You should have been doing it. You are now at a disadvantage to everyone that had started in the past, because your methods are now worse than the methods that previously existed. I can also tie this back to the Serpentine Helm. Like, are you an Iron Man? Do you want a Ceradoman Godsword? Do you want an Armadillo crossbow? Well, you know what? Soloing Ceradoman is now a lot more difficult because you don't apply venom to the minions. So, you might not get as many kills per trip now. Go fuck yourself. Like, nothing you can do. It's just get it while it's hot. Do it on release day. Do it before they nerf it. Mining, or not mining tot. I'm saying mining tot because I'm thinking about the releases. But winter tot, when it first came out, much better rewards. If you did it in the first week, got 99 mining in the first week on your Iron Man, you got a shit ton of good supplies, right? If you do it now, still good, but not as good as what you would have gotten before. So, you're screwed. For the Void set, if you had gotten it before and used it and benefited from it, good for you, man. You are ahead of the curve and you benefited from it before. You got easier Zulrah kills. It was easier for bossing. You didn't have to, if you're an Iron Man, you didn't have to go out and seek out the whole Armadillo set before, because earlier, you could have just used the Void set. You would have been better off. Now, well, have fun being set behind. You gotta go to the God Wars. You gotta go to Armadillo God Wars now if you want the best set for range. So it's just, I really don't like that Jagex seems to have this system where they reward you for doing things on release date, doing things before they get nerfed. That's really like the whole attitude you should have when playing RuneScape. Something comes out and it's overpowered, do it as fast as you can and as much as you can, because it's going to be nerfed eventually, and you're going to miss out if you don't. I mean, the same thing can be said for fucking splashing, for fucking Nightmare Zone, AFK, everything that was in the past that was overpowered. If you did it, you got extreme benefits that everyone else now doesn't get. I'm not saying that these overpowered things should stay in the game. I think it just shows that Jagex has an issue with balancing. They're now asking us to trust them with balancing. And it's like, okay, well then these things shouldn't be released in the game in the first place. Why is the quality assurance of Jagex clearly having issues balancing things before they come into the game? So, these are my thoughts on the new updates from today. I don't know if anyone's going to agree. I won't kid myself into thinking that, my opinions are as well informed as other people in the game. I know that some people will play this game like it's their fucking life, just 20 hours. Well, maybe not. Actually, yeah, 20 hours a day probably would be a realistic thing for some people. We'll say 18 hours a day, 16 to 18 hours a day. Some people who just invest their whole lives in this game clearly know more than me, but, from my limited perspective, this is what I think is wrong with today's update and what I think is wrong with how Jagex does updates in general. They're promising, for the sharks in the future, we're going to fix it. We've got all sorts of new ways with our new content for you to get sharks, and we'll buff it in the future and blah, blah, blah. We'll take a look at it. Shouldn't make the changes if you're not ready to update the other stuff. So, I don't know. That's just my opinion. If it had been in the game for, this many years, would it really have hurt if it had waited just a little bit longer until you could fix mining, fix fishing? I don't know. So, this is a Nintendo project signing off.